Today I want to give you a tour of this sketchbook. It's a sketchbook that I finished a while ago, so I don't remember exactly what's inside. I know there is coursework, I have some master studies in there, there is ink, there is color pencil, there is gouache. If you're curious about the sketchbook, I'm going to leave all of the information in the description below. It is a Hahnemühle Nostalgie sketchbook and it was lovely to work in. I started it in July 2023 and I finished it in February 2024. It's a sketchbook that I had for way longer than this because my mother gifted it to me before I got back into art and all of this. So I usually skip this page and then I have a couple more empty pages because I didn't know what to do with this sketchbook for a very long time, and as you can see I removed a page here. I actually probably removed 4 at least, but this one is visible because there must have been some glue in there. So when I finally started it, it's very thick and smooth and lovely paper, so I wanted to do something nice with it. It felt like a very nice sketchbook, and so I finally started it in July 2023. And I wanted it to be, that was over a year ago, I wanted it to be a master study sketchbook and a place that I could refer back to. So I started copying plates from a very old book about flowers. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the book. I copied the first one and started the second one and I didn't do it. I also wanted to experiment with a fountain pen, so I did this one with this fountain pen. It's a Pilot Custom 74 with a soft fine nib that I absolutely love. And I use brown ink that I don't remember the name of, but it was okay. A bit dull. Not my favorite brown. So yeah, that was my first attempt, and then I thought this was probably too restrictive and I should copy plates from other books as well. So this one is, as you can see, a couple months later. It is from The Field Book of Western Wildflowers by Margaret Armstrong. And I was using my fountain pen again and a different ink this time. These are just some random tests with watercolor that I probably did long after this. Sometimes I go back on previous pages and I just try stuff when I want to see how a specific paper reacts. Maybe I was considering buying another one of these sketchbooks and I wanted to see what watercolor does in it. Another master study. This time I decided that I didn't want to do just ink in it, that it was again too narrow of a topic for this sketchbook, so I decided it was going to be master studies, but all kind of master studies. And this is an illustration from one of my favorite picture books from when I was a kid. This is an illustration of the Emperor and the singing bird. I don't know if it's a rossignol in English as well. And yeah, this is Death and the Emperor, and here is the bird, and the illustration is by an artist whose name I am absolutely unable to pronounce. I was using a Faber Castell water-soluble pencil for this, and I didn't use water on it. Another master study, this one is from Charles Robinson. And this is finally in December. I had finished my previous sketchbook that I already gave you a tour of, and I wanted to go through this one, and I decided finally to not keep it just for master studies, but instead make it my one sketchbook for everything. So my sketchbook philosophy is very simple. I like to have one ongoing A4 sketchbook where I do most things in, and then I have some more on the side when I need a specific paper, a specific material. For example, I have a watercolor sketchbook because I prefer to do it on different paper, but one main sketchbook. And this one, as I said, it's 190 GSM. It's pretty thick paper. It takes many mediums very well, but it feels a little bit too nice. It felt a bit too nice for me to do just anything in it, but I decided that it had to happen because otherwise I would just never finish it. So this is just a page of random sketches from things I saw on Pinterest. The brown here is a Polychromos pencil from Faber Castell, and the pink one is apparently a Venetian red, and it is a water-soluble pencil. And I've been using a little bit of water, and it's just, I love the effect that it has. It's a shame that I haven't done it since, because I think this combination on this paper is just, I want to do it now. I want to have another of these sketchbooks for my everyday carry, because I think you have just one of these pencils and a water brush, and you have a perfect sketching combination, easy to carry, and that has this just beautiful effect. So I really like some of these sketches. The portraits are not my favorite ones, but they're okay. But I really like this one and this one. This is coursework. This is an assignment that I did for Stressfree sketching. That's a course at New Masters Academy, and it was definitely not stress-free. I had to do this one a couple times. Then I did some figure drawing, apparently. These are some 1-minute poses. You probably can't see them very well, and I actually can't either. These are a bit more visible, and yeah, not... I've made progress since January. This was in January. I didn't do them from life. This was probably either from photo references that I have on the NMA photo reference library, or video references from New Masters Academy. So you may be able to access this session on YouTube, because I know that they have a few available for free, but I'm not sure about this one specifically. Yeah, some more figure drawing. I was drawing pretty small. And yeah, I like some things in here. I think it was from a video, not from photos. Yeah, 5-minute poses. This is weird. Yeah, then I was getting into gouache. That was in January, and I wanted to make it a regular thing for me to do some small gouache studies. And it's funny to look at them now, because I've been doing so many since, and these are... I was going way too much into details, and you probably can't see it because you don't have the references, but I remember that my values are off, and yeah, I don't want to critique everything in this sketchbook, because I know it's not going to be an enjoyable video for you if I do so. But yeah, gouache studies, and I was swatching my colors here because I don't care very much about... It's just a sketchbook, and I am sometimes very clean, like I was using artist tape here to have some neat edges, and sometimes very messy, like I would swatch and try my materials on a random page, and I think it's nice, it's fine. So yeah, trying out my colors, it's something that I do a little bit less now. I am more familiar with the way that gouache dries and the colors change, but I definitely did it always when at this point in my life. Ooh. Oh no, it's not on the next page. I just remembered that I have a very nice painting in this one that I can't wait to see. Okay, a very messy random page. I was explaining some things to someone, trying colors here. I don't know what this is. And these are some studies, composition studies that I did for a project that I finished and that I don't like. So yeah, I won't go too much in there, but I was working from a photo reference. This is a fountain in my city that is in the middle of a place in front of a cathedral. It is the Saint-Jean Cathedral, if you want to check it out, and it's a beautiful building. The fountain is actually much younger than the cathedral, and I didn't know it was. This is coursework. This was for... what was it for? I think I was starting mastering color fundamentals with Bill Perkins, and it's a painting class about color, and our first focus was on values, so we had to make this value chart of high key and low key using gouache, and I had a lot of trouble doing this. I was, as you can probably see, I was really struggling with the consistency of my paint, and it's not very opaque, and you can see the brush strokes, and you can see that sometimes I didn't have enough paint, and I didn't want to try to mix the exact same color again, so I was thinning it with water, and it's not the best thing to do with gouache. So yeah, some progress here sometimes. This is better. Here, again, a bit too transparent, and this was a great exercise to try to feel more comfortable with the value shift of gouache. And I think painting a sphere or drawing a sphere is always a good way to see if you really master your materials, because it has to be a very delicate but also very clear gradient between light and shadow. I think my shadow here is way too dark. I wasn't comfortable doing a gradient in gouache, but I made a lot of progress with this course specifically. And this was again the first week that was about value. For this class we did portraits, and it's about the painting and the color, not the drawing part. So yeah, you would have to ignore how awful my portraits are, because I was really focusing on the color and the paint and really doing it the way it was supposed to be done. So not spending too much time on the drawing part, because anyway, when you add the paint, the drawing is covered. Yeah, again, week 1, assignment 2. And I said dessin décalqué, so I said that I actually traced the drawing. I didn't trace on the photograph. I think we had kind of a drawing that we could use, either print and paint over or trace it, and I traced that. Wow, still week 1. That was definitely a week with a lot of work. And yeah, this is where I started to feel better with gouache. You can see that it's more opaque, that my values are a lot more controlled, and I was starting to get it. And it's not an interesting painting, I know, but it's a page that I really like, because I felt like, yeah, I felt more comfortable in what I was doing, and it's a very difficult exercise, so I really like this page. Oh, I don't like that one. Terrible drawing. It was ballpoints and it's awful. Oh, swatches. Many swatches. That was again for the Mastering Color Fundamentals class. This is not an assignment, but I was swatching all of my colors in gouache to decide which tubes I would use for my primaries. So the advice we had was that you want the colors, your primary colors, as saturated as possible, because as you add white and as you mix them, the saturation is always going to decrease. You cannot add saturation to your paint, you can only remove it. So you want the higher possible saturation to start with, and yeah. So what I was doing here is that I was swatching on these lines the color not straight out of the tube. I was adding water, but I wasn't mixing it with any other paint. And then as you go down, I am mixing it with increasing amounts of titanium white. And the idea was to see which colors would maintain the most saturation, even when mixed with titanium white. So that's how I made my choice. I didn't add enough white. I think it's not a very pronounced gradient, but this is the gouache that I always use. I never tried another brand. It's Linel by Lefranc-Bourgeois, and I added the pigment names and the references from the brand. More gestures. I quite like them actually, some of them. They're not so bad. Yeah, more gestures here, and this is my most successful gouache painting. You may have seen this one on Instagram. I shared it. I was recording the process. If you don't follow me on Instagram, by the way, I have an Instagram account and I share a lot there in the stories. So if you're curious, I will add the link in the description below. This was again from a reference that I found on Pinterest. I spent an hour and a half on this one. I like to, as you can see, I always write a date on my pages. I don't sign my pages because it feels stupid, because it's a sketchbook. I won't sign my own sketchbook on every page, but I always add the date and some context. So here you can see that these are 2 minutes poses and the model is Amanda. And here it's a Pinterest reference and I spent an hour and a half on it. I was swatching my colors, as you can see here. Sometimes for the background, when I'm searching for the color of the background, I like to make a larger swatch because then I know that it's a color that I may have to paint over. And so I can swatch other colors over it and see how they work together. So that's something that I tend to do. And yeah, it's probably, it's one of my most successful gouache paintings. I think from the first ones in this sketchbook, you can see that I was feeling a lot better with the material. Some more gestures. It feels very odd to have gestures on such a nice paper, but I really wanted to go through this sketchbook, and that's how I use a big sketchbook for everything. I just have everything in it. Again, from video references from New Masters Academy. I'm curious to see if I have some more recent drawings of this session. That would be fun to compare, but I'm not sure I do. I'm using a Polychromos pencil, always. These are some more studies for the same project that you've seen here. So first studies and a second set of studies, and I ended up doing something like this. And yeah, it's I think as a study, it's nice. I quite like this page of studies, but when I scaled it up, it was too simplistic. There wasn't enough detail. It's like a scaled up and cleaned up version of the study instead of a piece of art. And so yeah, I don't really like this project, but I've been working hard on it still. You can see that I was organizing my values, and this is a warmer version of this. Another assignment for Mastering Color Fundamentals. This is the second week. Here, I think it's because of this class, I felt like I was a bit too weak on my head drawing, and so I decided to go back to a previous class that I had taken, that is Constructive Head Drawing 1 with Steve Houston, and so I revisited an assignment that I had done previously about head construction. Again, using a Polychromos pencil. That was in January, and I spent approximately 10 minutes on each. More figure drawing. Oh, it's not just any figure drawing. This is my very first live drawing session. Yeah, that was my first time doing this, and I think I had some fun from the start, but it's it was also very challenging. And what you can see here with very bad and quick handwriting, these are notes that I took later because I submitted this page and probably, yeah, all of my figure drawings from this session I submitted in group coaching to have some critique, and I received critique from Joshua, so I wrote some notes directly on the sketchbook and on the side of the sketches. Yeah, so again, date, context, and time of the poses. I write the time because I want to be able to see my progress. For me, my sketchbooks are like a journal of my progression in art, and if I don't have these elements, the date and the time that I spent on a drawing, it won't be possible for me to compare in the future with other drawings that are equivalent. Yeah, final poses from the session. I remember that it felt like the session was very long. Now when I go, I'm used to working that much for this long, but it is a 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours session with a break in the middle, and it felt like a lot. By the end, I was feeling tired, and my last drawing is, yeah, I was very, very tired for this one. Again, some mastering color fundamentals assignments. This was, I don't remember what this was about, to be honest. Maybe saturation, I'm not sure. But I have some, yeah, I received some feedback from Bill Perkins, and so what you can see written in pencil is again some of the feedback. I also wrote notes around my swatches to see what I wanted to do in each color. Because what I was doing for this class is that I paid a lot of attention to my value structure and my color structure, and I was being very methodical and organized, and so I would mix my colors ahead of time and swatch them and adjust them, and then, yeah, I had a plan. These were paintings with a plan. Oh, I love this page. It's probably one of my favorites in this sketchbook. This is a master study from Alphonse Mucha, I don't know how to pronounce it, and I love his drawings. I know that I also love his posters, but his drawings especially are very inspiring to me, and I made this study in ballpoint. I don't know what he used. I suspect that it was a traditional pencil, I'm not sure. But I did it in ballpoint and it worked very well. I have some delicate lines and I can have a very dark line as well. I have some small notes. These are, some of them I think are from me. I was comparing my drawings to the originals and taking notes of what I was noticing. Mostly the head angles were slightly off, so I wrote that, and I think some of them may be from feedback I received in group coaching as well. These are from life. It was at the end of January and I started to go draw outside and I absolutely loved it. I drew these in the garden of the Fine Arts Museum here in Lyon. They have a garden before you go to the museum, and the garden is a free place where they have statues, so even if you don't have a ticket for the museum, you can stay in the garden and see the statues. This is Rodin, and this one I don't remember. I was very far away from it because unfortunately the benches are not placed at the correct distance from the statues for artists to draw them. It's not ideal. So I drew this one, not because it's my favorite, but because I had a bench just perfectly placed. This is from life again. This is in the old Lyon, the old part of my city. This is a very modern statue that we have in front of the court. I think it's the court. And I like the symbolism of this statue. It's a man holding another man, and it's the same guy. And it's called The Weight of Oneself. And this is a very iconic building of my city. I'm definitely looking up on this building because it is at the top of a hill and I am far, far below it. It is the Basilica of Forvia and it's a modernish, I don't know, it's from the end of it's from 1890. So pretty modern compared to the cathedral that we have. But it's a beautiful building and I made this drawing from the violon. From life. Oh, I had so much fun drawing this. It was one of my favorite days outside. I was going outside to draw very often, so this is from January 28, January 29, and this is January 30. So I was going out every day to draw and I didn't want to do anything else. I just discovered how enjoyable it is to draw from life. And this is because of this life drawing session that I went to. This is at the greenhouse of a park that we have in my city, and it's just an amazing tree where there is this plant growing out of the tree, but it's not the tree, and it was beautiful and I just loved drawing it. I love drawing trees. I received some feedback on my drawing, so I took notes. As you can see, I'm not too precious about my sketchbook and my drawings here. This is the second live drawing session that I went to. And you can see some feedback. I don't know who it is from. I think it's from Joshua again. But I didn't write the name. Yeah, it's definitely Joshua. I didn't write the name, but I remember, like, I can recognize the kind of advice that he would give me. And I think there may be a video on YouTube that they clipped from the session where he gave me feedback. So if I can find it, I will put a link right now where you can see him critiquing this page. I think it's this one. I will try to put a link. Yeah, more of them. Not a fan. I was also I'm still figuring out how to manage my composition, the composition of the page and the spread, when I don't know what the next drawing is going to look like, because I don't know what the next pose is going to be. So I have to place my drawing in a way that I leave some space for other drawings, but I don't know what it's going to be like. So here I probably switched my sketchbook like this, turned it like this because it was a reclining pose, and then I didn't have any space above or below to draw this one when she took this pose. So I took a new page, and this was the last pose of the session. Another assignment for Mastering Color Fundamentals. This is week 3, and this was about complementary color contrast, and this was a tough week. This painting was difficult. It's not beautiful by any means, but this course was not about making beautiful paintings, it was about mastering color fundamentals, and every week was definitely pushing my limits and our limits. I know that every student learned a lot from this one. You can see all of my swatches here and the paintings. This paper is taking gouache extremely well. I think, yeah, for my next sketchbook that I take outside with me, I think it's going to be a Nostalgie, because the paper takes a lot of mediums very well. I don't like it for drawing gestures and for live drawing sessions because it's a bit too thick for my taste, but for ink and painting it's just beautiful. And that's it. That was my last page. If you like sketchbooks, my next video is also going to be related because it's called Sketchbook Journey and it's about a class that I just finished at New Masters Academy. If you want to see it, you can subscribe to the channel, and meanwhile, if you haven't seen it, you can check my previous sketchbook tour video. I leave the link right now. Thank you for watching, stay creative, and I will see you in the next one.